Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading, like the title says, is an interesting one. It sort of came as a bit of a download command to do the reading to me, as it happens sometimes, which is do a reading on what challenge is coming up that the collective, or the people in the collective, each of you individually, is ready for. So it is looking at something that's coming up. We live in such interesting times, and it could be a new love, it could be a new job, it could be something social or political, or it could be a spiritual quest, it could be anything. But what we're looking at is what it is, what it brings to you, what the challenge itself may be, and what the reward is, because of course we are talking about a challenge. And I don't know whether I should say trigger warning at the beginning. I don't know, because I haven't begun it yet. Maybe I should, but it might not need a trigger warning. I don't know. But if I sort of feel something like that's coming up, I will say it during the reading. But this is meant to be something that you are more than ready for. So it's not meant to be a challenge that's going to defeat you, but a challenge is a challenge. A hero's quest makes a hero because it has challenges. So that's what we are going to be looking at. So hopefully that will be enlightening and helpful. What I also want to do is I want to spend a little bit of time before going to the pile choice talking about challenges that I face around this channel and so forth. And it's not like playing a violin or whatever, but I don't really talk about this much and around YouTube algorithm and so forth. But for various reasons, I just thought it might be timely, given the nature of this, to just say something and ask for your support where you have time and an interest in supporting the channel. You don't have to listen to this. I am going to timestamp when it begins and when we go back to the pile choice. But if you are interested in that, like knowing that perspective from me, I would appreciate it. And you can listen to that bit and then do the pile choice, or go back and listen to it after you've done your pile choice and listen to your reading, whatever suits you. So this is the point at which I will jump into that. So this is your point to jump off and just go to the pile choice if you want. Okay, so I have the challenge that probably all the readers on here have to a greater or lesser extent, which is that you want to get your work out to people, and the right people. And this is my main thing, is getting to the right people, the people who need to see it. More and more, this collective is very, very powerful. And there's a lot of you, I think, who have very, very specific functions and destinies within these interesting times, as I said, that we lived in. So that's kind of the rationale of the channel in many ways. But it is also, I did set it up so that people who connected to my reading style psychically and so forth could come to me for a private reading if they wanted. So if you're not aware, I do private readings. They're on my Etsy store. The details of that are always in my description box for every video. There's no expectation that you come. I only ever think that a small number of people who come to these readings that are free on YouTube would want to go and get a paid reading. So that's fine. But it does help me support myself. So I need to see some sort of sustenance or growth of that business and of YouTube, in terms of getting the videos out and so forth. And so that they're kind of connected. Now, I think I'm pretty lucky. I think there are some amazing readers on YouTube, some of whom I've collabed with, who are every bit as good as me or anybody else on there, but who are having more difficulties with the YouTube algorithm than me. But it is also true that I have my struggles with the YouTube algorithm. And the issue is that if over time less and less new people see the content, and therefore less and less new people know about potential getting readings and everything, just because of the nature of how readings go. People come when they need them. They don't come all the time, which is fine. I mean, I don't want anybody to get addicted to readings from me, but it's just the nature of it. And the nature of any business is it needs to grow. Otherwise it starts dying. It's just the way that it is. And so I would like to be able to continue to do this for many years to come, because I think we are heading into very interesting times, but I also have to balance that with, paying the bills and all of that kind of thing. So just so that you know, I was watching a pretty big YouTube podcast channel the other day, and they're big, but they're not the biggest in their niche. And they were saying, and it was really interesting. I mean, I honestly don't know if this is true or not. It's just what they were saying. But they were saying that they are under a kind of YouTube. It's not a shadow ban exactly, but what it effectively means is that the way the algorithm works for them, very few new people ever see their product unless the people who are already seeing it sort of do word of mouth and share and so forth. They say it's almost entirely that brings them growth, because if you looked at their analytics at the back, there's very few new viewers coming in ever. And so it's really just the support that actually allows them to continue to grow to the degree that sustains the loss, because you will lose subscribers and you'll lose, people lose interest over time. And so I'm saying you have to kind of have a balance of it. And I thought, what they were describing when I look at my analytics, it's very, very similar. I have a high ratio of subscriber watching, which is wonderful. You're also beautifully loyal. I'm so honoured that that's the case, but an extremely low new viewers ratio, like it's almost flat lines. Every once in a while, there'll be a topic that's a little bit more out of the box or something, and it kind of grows a bit, but after a couple of days, it then kind of just almost seems to be cut off at the pass. And I kind of get it. I've sort of said this to people that I think YouTube is a business and it has to manage the growth within niches or whatever, because it's the only thing it really has to offer its creators is the reach for their work. So I get it. I don't take any of this personally. And as I say, I do see that some of the other readers that I've worked with who are wonderful, but who seem to have this even more than me, it doesn't make any sense, because I think objectively looking at it with the ones that are bigger, there's not a huge difference in it. Also, I find with them and with others that they do build and with me, that it does build when it gets out there. So it's not like it's such a within the niche, such a niche way of doing things. I do get that I read differently pretty much to anybody who does YouTube readings that I've come across. So I never thought I was going to be huge, and I don't need to be, but there is a thing about getting the thing out there. So I think that there's something about the way that YouTube does that with the algorithm, and I think that this particular niche around tarot readings is a really good example of why that's the case. I've seen certain ones really pushed hard, and good luck to them. I bear no ill will to anybody who's successful, but I'm just trying to make sure that my channel doesn't die gradually. So, and it's not really, it's certainly not doing that at the moment, but it's not growing very much. So I thought I would try and say, and I'm not going to say this much because I feel really uncomfortable talking about this sort of thing, to be honest, but I thought I would say that I'd set a challenge for myself that within the next 12 months, I at least by a third and hopefully double. So at least sort of like 30% bigger, 30 to 50% bigger, but hopefully double the number of subs and kind of average views per video. And the only way that I think that can happen is if you do want to support the channel, please let people know about the channel who you think could benefit. Don't push it on anyone who isn't into tarot readings or whatever. Obviously, I don't expect that. But if you think that there are people who could be interested, let them know. If you want to take any of the readings that really resonated for you and share them on your social media, that would be really helpful, because it does get it out to a different audience. And that may help me meet my challenge and make this sort of viable in the longer term, which is obviously what I want to do, because I love to do it for you and I love reading for the collective. So as I say, I'm not playing a violin. YouTube's been pretty good to me, and I think YouTube's a really fantastic platform. I get why they would do this. I don't take any of it personally, but I have to also be pragmatic about it. So that's my challenge. And I guess my request to those who would want to support the channel, if and where it seems appropriate. Don't ever force anything, but if and where it seems appropriate, if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. And with that, we'll now go to the pile choice. So the pile choice. Basically what I've done here as a starting point to get a bit of an idea about what the challenge is about, I've used the Blue Dragonfly deck. So I just shuffled for a card from that for each pile. And then I have a couple of other cards to help work out what the challenge is, and a card to ask a question that's associated with the challenge under that already. I don't know what those other cards are yet, but I do know that for pile 1, the Blue Dragonfly card is Metamorphia. So talking about transformation, alchemical process, change skin, revolution of views. So it's got something to do with change, metamorphosis, growth, I would say. The second pile 2, has the Song of the Banshee. So warning, pay attention, danger, red flag. There could be something coming up where you need to know about a person or a situation or something so that you can avoid an issue. The challenge might be knowing what that is and being able to move away from the issue. That's what I would take from that, but we will see how nuanced that is with the other cards. And then pile number 3 is Quantum Field. This is very interesting looking. So this is talking about endless possibilities, opening source. So pretty big kind of spiritual innovation, download or something like that potentially associated with this. But as I say, we will see what the other cards tell us as well. You can, of course, go to more than one. It may be that one is the challenge and the other actually gives you some other advice and tells you about certain things in your kit bag that you can use. So whatever works for you, go with that. But when you know what reading or readings you would like to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, Pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Metamorphia. And what I have here is a couple of cards from the Lucid Dreams Metro deck to get a bit more of an idea about what this challenge is about. Plus also a card from the Stories Oracle with a question to ask that also helps us. And it's really funny. The Lucid Dreams Metro deck is very big, has a lot of cards in it, but I almost had a feeling this card was going to come out. And I thought if that card comes out anywhere, we're talking about something that is about sort of relationships, all the sort of sensuality, your kind of identity on that level, all those sort of things. And it came out with Metamorphia and Scorpio. So, and then Teeth, which is also in terms of sort of dream interpretation, it usually is things like the self, the power and so forth. It says here power, success, ego, sense of control, and also digestion. This is creative power and all the sort of like personal sort of stuff. And then as I say, the Scorpio's card, I'll read you the question. It says, what if the darkest and most mysterious parts of ourselves are also what makes us the most alive? So I think this challenge is about you really stepping into changing and claiming your power in terms of your sensuality, your creativity, your fertility, all of those sort of things. Now, for some of you, it may be in a relationship that's coming up that is really knocks your socks off, basically, what I might call a tower relationship. For others of you, it might be you really coming into expressing who you are in that space. Or, if you've gone through what you felt was a dry spell, that's going to shift. But there's a profound change in this, and it's about loving and knowing who you are, I think. I think that is the challenge for you. Because here with the Metamorphia, we've got what looks like a frog, and when we think about fairy tales, the princess kissing the frog who turns into the prince, it's sort of like, I feel like this is you understanding that, you are the prince or the princess. You are going to metamorphosize into something that is really beautiful, but you may have almost felt like, oh, I can't do that. I can't show that to the world. Is that right? With the Scorpio energy, or it's a very intense relationship which you feel like, whoa, like how much of myself would I change for this? But it's a positive thing. I feel like this is a positive change, but it is you claiming your presence, your beauty, your sensuality, all of that kind of thing. And it is a challenge. So as I say, whether it is that you have felt, there's a particular type of person you should be interested in, and a particular type of way you should relate, or a particular way you express yourself or whatever. And like, you're kind of at this point where, no, you can't suppress the real you anymore, and the things that really drive you on that sort of level. You're going to change, you're going to shift. And I think it's going to have a profound impact on your love life, and more generally on creativity. So if you're saying, well, I'm happy, I'm settled, I'm married or whatever, I really can't see that change, then if it's not that something's going to shift within that relationship that really awakens this in some way, then I think it's creative. So it's sublimated in a way, but nevertheless still a metamorphosis of doing something creative and expressive of self. Because it's very interesting as well that we have two cards that are part of the body, because this deck isn't all just parts of the body. But the body and the metamorphosis, and then Scorpio, as I say, getting to the real depths. There's something here about you expressing yourself and the way that you are seen by others and the way you interact. And it's a life-changing thing. I think for many of you, if you're not in a relationship, a big relationship's coming, and it's going to really, really make you change your view of yourself. I feel like it's very, very positive, but I feel like you have to own things in yourself that you maybe didn't sort of like want to see or think about, or as I say, it's a very big creative sort of thing. And this is where we've got the success and the creative power, and it may be about understanding it's okay, like your ego is okay. It's not sort of something you have to hide. So it may be bringing something out and taking control of something to really express who you are, even if it does make you feel a bit vulnerable. So it's going to be one of those two things. We'll get with the tarot a little bit more detail. Maybe we'll be able to work out which it's most likely to be. But I think it's going to depend upon who's come to the reading. So I think it is kind of either. So I'll be bearing that in mind. So with tarot, I'm going to look a little bit more about the challenge to see what else we can find out. And then we're going to ask why you specifically. Why has the universe said this is a challenge for you right now? And then how will others respond to you as you progress through this challenge? So a little bit more about what it actually is with tarot. 5 of Cups, 3 of Cups reversed, King of Swords reversed, Knight of Wands, Strength. Okay, all right. So whatever this is, and it may already have happened, or it may be the challenge that triggers it is like this, and then you have the metamorphosis, and that is the outcome, and that is the reward. But whatever this is has been triggered by disappointment and possibly by others getting involved, like gossipy sort of stuff, or getting involved, or telling you how to live your life or whatever, when they don't really have the right to do it. Because we start with the 5 of Cups, and then we have the 3 of Cups reversed, and then we have the King of Swords reversed. I feel like if this is about a relationship, I feel like you've had relationships before where you haven't felt like they were honest, or you haven't felt like you could be honest in it. You may even have felt cheated on or something like that. There's some issue around, if this is around relationships, one of the reasons that this is a challenge is that I think that you've been dealing with relationships that weren't honest. Now, if you're in a happy relationship, this is not about relationship. It's going to be about creativity, and I will talk about that in a minute. But I think, like for many, this is coming off the back of finding out something. For some of you, the challenge might be that you find out that a relationship that's sort of been on and off a bit, or felt like there was something wrong, you're going to find out there's something that was dishonest in it. But it'll be a liberation for you to then follow what you really want. I feel like if that's the case, it's a relationship where you felt like this is how I do what everybody expects of me, and I listen to everybody else, but like it's not really true to me, and the person isn't doing true to me. And that is the challenge that triggers you into metamorphosizing into who you really are. That then brings you the kind of passion that you want and brings you in a sense where you're strong. So this is meant to be good for you, but it could be, as I say, coming off the back of a series of relationship frustrations, or finding out something in a relationship that makes you go, that's the final straw. But either way, it's meant to bring you to strength. Now, if this is about creativity, then some people either have been or will trigger this sense of, I'm going to go for what I want, by not being true, not being honest. Like if you've been doing something creative in a workplace or more generally, there's some energy with other people and it's not honest. And it's like, and I think what it's doing is saying, you, rather than trying to fit in with that, you need to be really honest about yourself and take what your creative vision is, because that's your strength. That's going to work really, really well for you. But the reason this is a challenge is it comes off comfortable, but not sort of progressive, sort of not kind of like building, sort of evolving situation. It's kind of like if you've been denying certain aspects of yourself and your creative expression to sort of fit in, you're going to realize that you can't anyway. And this is a push towards you being more true and expressive of yourself in one form or another. So why you specifically at the moment? Why is the universe focusing on you for this kind of metamorphosis? King of Wands reversed, Chariot, 2 of Wands, Page of Pentacles, 8 of Wands reversed. Okay, all right. So, again, I could read this for either, so I'm going to talk about it for either because it's going to depend on who's come up here. I'm going to look at relationships first. The real reason right now for you is that there is a significant relationship coming in and you've suppressed your own passion for far too long. So this is like preparing you to be ready for the destined relationship where there is a kind of a aha moment. There's two that are more in alignment, not out of alignment, but in alignment. It's saying that there is something pragmatic that you've done about, well, what you think is pragmatic, probably more to the point, about relationships that has actually made this not work that well for you. It's actually slowed you down. It's like it's saying, claim who you are and claim the passion. Stop worrying about the kind of practical impacts, because all that does is slow it down. There is something destined coming in. There's an opportunity coming in. And if you worry, if you think, oh, what are my friends going to think? Or, I've met somebody at work and like, is that going to affect my career or something? If there's that kind of thing, it's just going to slow you down. So the challenge is to just move forward and just believe in the destiny about whatever this is. If it's about creativity, it's a similar sort of thing. You've suppressed your creativity. There's a opportunity now to really move forward with some new idea. If that's the case, though, I think it's saying do the creative thing. But if you feel the need to sort of like just take it one step at a time because you're looking at the sort of like the monetary thing about it, that's probably okay, as long as you don't let any of that suppress what you do. Suppress speed is fine, suppress the creativity is not. So this is really asking you in either case. I think in a relationship one, it's not to worry about the consequences of anything too much. Just go with the passion and see where it takes you, because you're meant to sort of really own what you want there. But if it is around a creative thing, it's sort of like, well, that's okay. As long as you don't suppress your creativity, if that makes you feel a bit more comfortable, that's okay. It's sort of like, I feel like with a creative thing, there is sort of like, there is almost more of a business thing that you have to think about. So it sort of depends upon what we're talking about. So how will others relate to you or react to you when you go through this metamorphosis, when you take on this challenge? Page of Wands reversed. The Devil reversed. Death. Two of Cups reversed. Okay. So the point of this metamorphosis is for you to find your power and your strength and your sensuality and your creativity, not necessarily to do what another person or other people want. I feel like in either case, so let's say around relationships, this will release the hold that other people have on your passion, which is good. And some will choose to stay with you as friends and whatever, and some will not. But that's okay, I think. It's sort of saying, like, don't make this about, you've got to make a decision to move forward to what you want. Some will decide that they can move forward with you, with the new you, and some won't. But don't let that stop you. There is a kind of a liberation energy here, and you'll find out who were your true friends and all that kind of thing as a result of that. It is possible, even for some of you, that part of the challenge of this is you go with a love, but it's not a long-term thing, that they make a decision, if they've been attracted to sort of like you before you metamorphosize, or if you're in a relationship and it feels really powerful and it's like, now I really want to step out and do that. Maybe for some of you, part of the challenge is that won't be the right person and it needs to clear out for you to bring in the right person. But either way, like, just let this occur, because the important thing is that you have to be true to yourself. So I think it really does come down to, and it's the same with creativity. Those that would control you and limit you will be gone. Some will choose to connect with you. Some may not get what you're doing now. So, like say you were a creative person and you've always done, say you're a musician, you've always done R&B, and then you suddenly decide, I'm going to do rap. Some of your fans are going to like both and stay with you. Some are going to move on. So, but the important thing is you have to own what the creativity is, because it's a little bit ambivalent here. I think it's sort of saying that it certainly releases you from those that would control you too much, but of the people around you, some will decide to stay, some may not decide to stay. But the important thing is you've got to be true to you, and that's why it's a challenge. Okay, so let's have a look at how this feels. We're going to use the Emotive Confessions deck, sort of at the beginning of it, in the middle of the challenge, and at the end. And remember, feelings are fleeting. So, if there's a challenging looking feeling at the end, it could just be that, you've been through it and it's been full on, or you're thinking about, what do I do next? But it's just to give a bit of a map about the experience that you might go through. So firstly, at the beginning of this, particularly if you think, well, it hasn't happened yet, that's fine. I mean, what kind of feeling energy would be at the beginning of you really taking on the challenge of the metamorphosis to be more true to your own sensuality and creativity? Okay, you're happy with that. You're going, you know what? Yeah, I'm happy. It's a little bit tinged with, that expression is happy, but a little bit tinged with, okay. I mean, that's what I feel. It's sort of like, I'm happy, but I'm a bit guarded. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm open, which is good. That's exactly where you should be. You don't know exactly when you're going through a metamorphosis, you don't know what it's going to be like really. But there's a kind of a sense of I'm open to what's coming. So then sort of in the middle of the process, however long it takes, okay, you're feeling actually pretty assured. This is working for you. Actually, I really like that expression when I'm thinking of Scorpio and you coming into who you truly are. Like, I think there's a really beautiful growth energy operating here for you. Like, and as I say, whether it's creative or whether it's around love or whatever, I think this is like, you know what? Yeah. I can do this. I can do this. That's a really, really like that face. I really like that energy for you. So what about at the end, when you've gone through the metamorphosis, when you've done this, met this challenge? Okay, you're not entirely sure what's next. And that would make sense. It makes perfect sense to this with this. I think that it doesn't mean, and I think if a really major relationship's coming in that you need to change for, you've got to go through the change, then the relationship happens. So this could be then you're going like, okay, I've done it now. Like, I'm feeling a bit vulnerable. I'm ready to see what happens. If it's around creativity, you could have said, well, some people stayed with me, some didn't. But the point is, remember this energy. Remember that in the end, you're much more focused on who you are. You're looking straight onto the camera. You know, there's a kind of a glow around it. So yes, this metamorphosis doesn't mean that everybody you ever meet is going to love the new you or love your new creativity. So there is a little bit of a sense of, you've come to terms with the journey as well and understood what that is. But I think you're kind of vulnerable and open, which in itself is a positive move. The spirit wants you to be able to be true to yourself. And I think, remember this, in the process of doing it, discovering who you are, going into that scorpionic side of you, that's what you should remember. And go back to that anytime you're not sure. But there is a little bit of an equivocal thing here. I think that you changing, some people will come with you, some won't. And I think you need to be aware of that. But it's not a reason not to do it. Okay, so let's have a look at the balance of this on a kind of spiritual and everyday level. So a couple of cards around the everyday for you taking this, as you do the challenge. Wow, for some of you, it's going to bring a significant relationship. So if that's the case, I suspect you'll stay more in that energy than that energy. I think this is just picking up that different people will go differently. There is a real connection for some of you as a result of this. Otherwise, it could be you coming into balance with yourself. And the glow up, the glow up. See how glowing? This is the thing. Always go back to this. This is really a glow up. This is what it's meant to be. Even if, it doesn't guarantee everything is always going to work out. It is about getting the right kind of balance, the right sort of connections. So let's see spiritually. Tabula rasa, clean slate, beautiful, exactly. Like, the beauty about this is that if you commit to a challenge of a true transformation for creativity, for love, for whatever it is, you can go to tabula rasa, you can go to the clean slate, you can go, I'm going to start everything again. This is probably why there's a sort of, there's a kind of a little bit uncertain but happy idea. Then I can achieve this. And then it's like, okay, what's next? But that's life, I think that's, on a spiritual level, this is clearing out that which is not true to you anymore. The freedom again. I feel like the freedom energy. This is about freedom. And not seeing clearly. Okay, so I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like I naturally went to put these. At this point, at the end, you won't be entirely sure what this is going to mean, or some of you may not. So there could be still things to sort of understand and discover once you've done it. I feel like kind of like the fresh air, like getting out to the fresh air is sort of clearing the clouds away. There's sort of something about once you've done it, rather than just sort of dwelling in anticipation, which could take you back to the energy before the transformation. Sort of get out, be in nature, walk around a bit. I think that will help you. But I think because this is an intensely personal challenge, it's a challenge about, who you are as a person, how you love, how you create. There's no guarantee then, because there never can be, that everything's always going to work out. But going back to this energy and understanding this and getting out into nature and going back to your true nature is the way that you can work with it. Okay, let's just sort of see some stars to guide you as well, some energies that could be around astrologically. We have Neptune in the 5th house, Leo, I will, creative expression of the heart. Yeah, well, that's it all in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Whether it's about creativity, whether it's about love, or whether it's about a bit of both. This is bringing the ideal in. But Neptune is also, not always seeing entirely clearly. And I think the thing about this is that what this challenge is talking about, Pole 1, is a change that was deeply within you, either in terms of your love nature and self-expression, or in terms of creativity or something like that. You. This process, you very well, but it is in relation to others, whether it's in how they respond to something creative or how they respond to you in love or whatever. And that bit you can never be entirely sure of. All you can do is really understand what the ideal is for you so that you can test reality against that rather than other people's opinions or other people's ideas. We also get Venus in the 5th house, in love with love. Like, I do think for most of you it's going to bring in a really lovely relationship. Even if you're sort of thinking, wow, now I'm vulnerable, now it's really real, which is probably what that, okay, now it matters sort of thing. And we also have Mercury in the 4th house, Cancer, innate knowing. Yeah, getting in touch with your inner self. By getting in touch with your inner self, but it's a protective way. You do need to protect yourself in this. You need to go through the change, but know how to protect yourself. And how you communicate with others is a big part of how you will protect yourself. But I do think for most of you it's about love, actually. But if you are very, very settled in your love life and very happy, then as I say, it will probably sublimate into something creative. Okay, so just to finish off, I want to get you a crystal or mineral to sort of give you support. So literally, you might want to go and get this crystal or mineral. Otherwise, just think about and tune into its energy and what it is saying to close out the reading to help you with the challenge, Pole 1. We have Pyrite. I am brilliant, Mercury. So the Mercury thing, how you communicate, knowing, going within your communication. Chakras, feet, arms and legs. Help support tendons, ligaments, blood circulation, arthritis, tendinitis. So this is really good for any kind of physical stuff. There are physical things operating with this potentially. Magnetic energy helps widening attraction. Good for grounding high-frequency mental thinkers. Positive stone for men and children. Clears homes. Put under bed. Okay, so, if you're sort of feeling the wish for the support, maybe get some pyrite and put it under your bed. That might be a really good thing to support you as you go through this. But whatever it is, I just keep thinking, I want you to remember this face. I want you to remember that expression, because that's the promise of this, and it's a really beautiful promise. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pole 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Song of the Banshee, and I was saying in the introduction that I did wonder whether this was something really sort of challenging on a somebody you can't trust, or some really difficult situation might be coming up. Could be what it is, because it was talking about warning, pay attention, danger, red flag. But I actually think when I look at the other cards here, it's more like the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. It's almost like the only thing, if anything, that the Banshee is sort of singing her discordant song at you about is don't waste time. Because when I look at this, we have clock, stress, fear of death, heavy expectations, impending decision. So I don't think this is anything about death, so don't worry about that. I think this is saying time is of the essence, because your ship is meant to come in. We have the boat, adventure, travel, exploration, love, spiritual journey. There is an opportunity coming. If you think about a boat or a ship in Lenormand, it is saying the ship is coming in. There is a really good opportunity happening. And when I look at the question that the universe is asking you to ask yourself so that you go through this challenge, it's what if you spent your life on something that will outlast it? So I think the challenge for you, Pole 2, is not something bad coming in, though of course whenever we go after what really matters to us, we have to deal with competitors, we have to deal with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as the bard would put it, all of that kind of thing. But that's not really what the challenge is here. This is the challenge of owning what is yours and going towards your opportunities and building something that will be a legacy. So I think that the universe is saying your challenge is now to believe in something and believe in it enough to just go for it, not to let fear get in the way, and to understand time is of the essence. There is something coming in right now. Whether you've seen it yet or not, something will come in that allows an opportunity. And there could be this could be operating like a little, devil on your shoulder screeching again, be careful, be careful. But I actually think there's a sort of like an angel having a similar screech on the other shoulder going, don't waste time. Your time is now. Think about, what is your legacy? What do you really want? What would it mean for your ship to come in? Because it's like, the challenge is now, because if you don't take this up, then there's an opportunity that's going to pass you by. So I feel a little bit like it's like 4 cards in total that create the judgment card. So it'll be interesting to see if we get that card at all with tarot. We might not need it with this very clear message. But I always think with the judgment card, it's like there is an opportunity. The call is coming. If you don't do it pretty quickly, the opportunity passes and it doesn't come back. So it doesn't mean that there's no other opportunity that will ever come up, but I feel like this is saying there's a particular opportunity coming up, whether it's a career move, an opportunity to do something socially or politically, a spiritual thing that you could do, an approach, a retreat to go to that might have people that you really could benefit from meeting. There's something going on like that. And it's like, don't fear itself. The only thing you have to fear is not kind of getting your act together and going forward and claiming something. Because I think this is you are ready to claim a legacy. So what we're going to do with tarot is we're going to first of all get a little bit more about what the challenge is. And then we're going to see why you specifically at the moment. Why is the universe bringing you this challenge? Why does the universe think you are ready now for this challenge? And then we're going to have a look at how other people relate and respond to you as you go through the challenge. So firstly, a little bit more about the challenge itself using tarot. This card definitely wanted to come up, so that's interesting. The Fool, that would make sense. Something new journey. 10 of Wands reversed. 6 of Cups reversed. Page of Cups reversed. The Sun, okay, yeah. Yeah, Spirit or the universe is saying to you, there's a new journey awaiting you. You need to let go of the burdens of the past and anything that didn't work in the past. So for some of you, the reason you might be fearful of doing something new is maybe something that you wanted to do before didn't work. The timing wasn't right. The ship wasn't ready to come in. But there is a new adventure, and it is new. It's not a rehashing of the past. So again, you might feel a bit vulnerable and you might think, that's a bit scary. But it's something new. There's a lot of promise to it. And it does create something that could last. The Fool goes all the way to the world. Okay, so this is this sense of something that will outlast you. But it's not, it's interesting because that might make you think of legacy, family and so forth. And it doesn't mean it couldn't be related to you, getting married, having a family, creating that sort of a legacy. And that could be what's coming up. That's a great thing to do. But it's not really connected to your family in the past. This is not of the past. There is some burdens of the past you have to let go of, because otherwise it's like, you wouldn't be allowed on the boat because you've got too much luggage or whatever. So it's like getting rid of the baggage of the past, really recognizing this is something new. And what you're being asked to do right now, why the Banshee is sort of shouting at you, is that I would say this opportunity hasn't come over the horizon yet, but it's imminent. What you're being asked to do is think about what life path would you want and what do you want it to feel like? Because I almost feel with the past, you've maybe done a lot your family wanted, or, like you felt was the right thing to do or whatever. You haven't really defined what you would think success felt like. So that's the work to do right now to be ready, because time is going to be of the essence. What is the life path you want? Because the universe is saying you haven't been following it. You might have been collecting various skills and experiences that will help you follow it, but you really haven't been doing it because there's been almost that would be too big for me. I couldn't do that. But this is saying, no, it's not too big for you. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. But, or just missing the opportunity because you're sort of like, still focusing on things in the past. You need to be very future focused. So let's see why you specifically at the moment, why this challenge is coming to you specifically. 9 of Pentacles. 2 of Cups reversed. The Lovers reversed. Okay. The Tower. Wow. Yeah, it's big. This is big. 3 of... All right. So, a little bit of, not tough love here, but like I knew in this sort of thing, because we're talking about challenges, there is going to be something inherent in it. And part of it was a challenge of fear itself and being ready to grab it. But part of it is also saying this is something that only you can do. Whatever this is, only you can do it. This is not a team sport. This is not something to do in partnership. It's not even really about relationship with others. It may create relationship with others as you go through it or after it, but it's not about this. This is something for you very independently, becoming the self-made person and having a really major breakthrough. You cannot do it trying to follow somebody else's direction. So this is like, this is an opportunity. This is your time. Like, I feel like, you've maybe, and we all do this to some degree, so there's no criticism, but, you've maybe done, what your parents expected or what your workplace expects or what your university lecturers told you should think or do or something. I don't know what it is. And there's a big breakthrough coming through where you could really express what you are, and only you can do it. It's only, this is something you have to be prepared to. I place everything in the past, including all my relationships, and move forward on this, even if I have to do it on my own. It doesn't mean you have to live an incredibly hermetic, lonely life, but it's like, in relation to this is you, and it is your legacy. So it's like that energy, you need to claim that. It's a huge breakthrough. I feel like the Tower here is actually incredibly good. I feel like it's like the inspiration that comes through to shatter all the old connections that made you less than who you were. And the universe wants you to do it, because there's something about this that if you didn't take up the opportunity, not only will you not get to take it up again later, but it's almost like the opportunity disappears altogether. So it's like there's something really important here. So how will others respond to you as you take it up? If you go, okay, yeah, I'm going on this journey. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to fear. I'm just going to, and I'm going to move quickly towards my destiny, so to speak. King of Swords, Two of Wands reversed, the Devil, Knight of Wands. Okay, so it's I kind of expect it to be in a challenge. It's a little bit equivocal. Some people will be really on board with what you do. And I think you'll ultimately be protected, whether it's by spirit guides or whether it's by the law. If you're doing something creative, I think that you'll get really good legal advice to protect your trademark or whatever it is. There are some that really see that, and there are some that want to give you that support without wanting to tell you what direction to go in. So some will get it, and that's probably connected to whatever the breakthrough opportunity is. Others may want to limit your movement or may want to take advantage of you. So there is also a warning here. Like it's sort of like this feels like something where there's money to be made, there's a reputation to be made, there's a legacy to be made. So it is very important to know that there are some that will just be hands off and let you do it, and they're the ones to connect with. There will be others that try and control it, and they will slow it down. They will try and own it. So this is why you do need, I think for most of you in this, you'll need really good legal advice if this is around sort of like something in your career or something that you're creating or something like that. That's the thing, because it's really, there's a divided thing, but it's divided in a particular way. There will be some that respect your boundaries, respect what you're doing, see you're the only person who wants to do it. They just want to protect what's happening. They're very fair, but there will be others that might want to try and exploit it. So this might be the other thing. Watch out for the red flags there. When your ship is coming in and you're moving fast and you're focusing on the future and what you're going to create, it is possible that you could miss the signals about people like that. So just be aware of that. Spirit and the universe wants you to know that. So let's have a look at what you're going to feel as you go through this. Sort of at the beginning, as you're in the middle of the challenge, and sort of as you've sort of completed the challenge. And it's just feeling. So it doesn't necessarily mean we could have a equivocal feeling at the end, and it could be just like, well, I'm kind of over that. What's next? So it sort of depends. But I just want to sort of get a bit of a sense emotionally what the trajectory of this challenge is for you. So firstly, right at the beginning, when the tower strikes, when the ship comes in, when the opportunity is there, and you're on a bit of a time clock. Okay, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. It's kind of like, oh, okay. I think you're kind of like, am I ready? Like, I think this is the kind of energy right now. It's sort of like, what? There is a kind of an openness to it, but it's kind of like also like not being sure. Like there is a lack of sureness, and that would make sense. It's sort of like, what do I do now? What do I do now? So I just think that's why it's saying work out this stuff now, because this is coming in. You can shift that energy so that you're more ready. Then when you're going through the challenge, you're not sure. You're not sure who to trust. And I think there is some truth to that. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity. You're meant to take it and only you can do it, but you're not sure who to trust. And this is what's coming up. There will be people to trust, but I think a bit of wariness as you go through is good, because it also means that you keep this thing very much to yourself. There is something about this that you need to keep very much to yourself, pile 2. And even with those who are supporting you, it's kind of, I'm happy to take your support, but hands off. That's kind of the energy. And then at the end of it, you're quite happy. Like you're going, good, that worked. So as long as you sort of like maybe do a little bit more preparation now, thinking about what would you want your legacy to be? What would you want your life path to be? Because something's coming in that's going to give you that opportunity. Then be wary as you go through, because there's something very special about what you're doing, and some people will support it with integrity and others may want to control it. So you need to be wary, but at the end you look like you're happy. Yeah, I've achieved that. I've done it. I've actualized it. Okay, let's see what it looks like on an everyday and spiritual level. This challenge. So a couple of cards first around just everyday experiences around it all for you. Strength, yeah. It's your strength, your growth, your new beginning, you going towards the sun. The more that, as you go through it, I think this is the trepidation at first. You will be in a strong position at this point, because this is where you'll realize that some people might want to kind of exploit what you're doing. So, remember that is showing the strength of what you're doing. And yeah, the red flags, there are red flags. So it's like, that's to know that. If you know that, then you'll come through this okay. But it's like the more successful and the more strong you get, the more you're going to see the red flags. So then, what about this spiritually? What's the energy around it spiritually? Drawn into the vortex. Wow. This is big. You've got this opportunity to radically change everything. And I feel like with this bird here, it's like freedom. It's heading towards freedom. But yeah, it's big. It's the tower energy. It's, there is a big force behind this. And spiritually, you'll feel it. And rose-colored glasses, but don't have rose-colored glasses. Like when you're drawn into this and it's so overwhelming, make sure that you keep your discernment going, because you might sort of, let's say, be so focused on what you're trying to create that you might miss people who are trying to exploit it to some degree. But I think you will come out of it okay, but it's just to be aware of that. It's sort of like, I also think it's saying that rose-colored glasses used with discernment in this case could be good, because one of the things around this is, don't fear itself. So it's kind of like, be open, this is big, be open to it, be as optimistic as possible, but just have discernment with the people you're dealing with, because this is yours, pile 2, and it's not egotistical, and it's not greedy, and it's not any of those things to protect it. This is yours, and it will only really fully be manifest if you do it. You can't let others take control or take over. Okay, so let's get you some stars to guide the process as well. Saturn in the 11th house, liberator of society, liberation. Okay, so something that you're doing may actually help others. Like once you do it, that might be part of your legacy, and it could be other person-centered, but only you can do it. You bring the maturity to this, but Saturn also in the 11th house is putting limits around other people on the social side of this, and even on social media, until you know what you're doing. So I think it's a kind of a protective energy for you. Then we get Neptune in the 6th house, self-sacrificing service to others. Okay, so this is why you've got to have discernment, because there is something about what you're going to do. It will do very well for you, and you're the person to do it, and only you can really do it. And it's a solo thing. But you're going to be kind of like having to balance, because there's something about what you're doing that will be of service to others. It's how you make sure that you discern that and it stays on the King of Swords side, as opposed to getting into people demanding too much. And so Neptune is the idealism about this. There will be a lot of idealism, rose-colored glasses, but you also need that kind of sense of what your strengths are and the discernment, because it somehow connects with a lot of other people. It's just that only you can do it, and you really don't need other people to be telling you how. And Saturn in the 4th house. So yeah, the very strong Saturnian influence around this is important. On an emotional island. Okay, you may feel it. So what you're going to have to balance is that I think you're used to being very connected with people. You're a very caring person. You're a very, you support others. And there will be something out of this that can support others, but you do have to be comfortable with being on your own. even if sometimes people don't understand it. And this might be why you're a little bit wary at first. And you need to be careful about who you speak to about it and how you speak about it until it's really established. So it's not easy. This is not easy, but it is about creating a legacy, and it will ultimately be ideal. But it's like you have to go through that process. Okay, so what we're going to finish on, because I knew with a challenge you always need some support, so we're going to get a crystal or mineral to support you going through this. And, you may want to get this crystal, potentially, if you feel, yes, that support would be helpful. Otherwise, just think about the areas and the energies that it would bring. So, for you, we have Crocoit. I am protected. Yeah, I think you will be protected through this as long as you use your own discernment. And Jupiter, this is meant to be successful. It's meant to be lucky. Sacral and root chakras. The mineral can be fragile yet powerful. Helps clear deep-rooted sacral issues and helps restore your sensual, let's put it that way, disempowerment or trauma. Good for balancing menstruation and balancing of fiery energy. Helps digestion and fueling the body to regenerate cells. So I think that what this may be saying is the biggest thing that you're going to have to balance is the people closest to you, because there's a lot there that kind of connects to that side of you and how you do this and do what you need to do, plus also nourish those relationships. So maybe Crocoit could be helpful in that space. Hope that this resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the very intriguing quantum field, endless possibilities source opening, which felt very spiritual to me. And there could be a very spiritual aspect to this. But if it is, given some of the other cards, then it's somehow in connection with how you're presenting yourself and connecting with others, coming off the back of a really big shake-up in that area, or a need for a shake-up in that area. Otherwise, this isn't so much about something spiritual per se. There will be a spiritual aspect to it, and we will look at that. But it's more about your presentation more generally, after like a shock to the system, or after like realizing sort of something you couldn't continue to connect with people and present yourself in a way that wasn't true to you. And that once you actually allow that change and that truth to come through, then you have the endless possibilities. Then you connect with source. Then you have the opening to be who you want to be and connect with who you want. Because we've got here, ideas, knowledge, confidence, freedom, self-image, vanity. I think this card in relation to this is about how you present yourself to others, how you want to be seen. And hair is a very personal thing. It's a way that we express ourselves, particularly for women, but also for men. So I think that's part of what this is about, particularly when we have arm, reaching, taking action, holding, embracing, boundaries, flexibility. I think this is about being true to yourself and how you present yourself and how you reach out to others and who you reach out to. But as I say, it's like something's happened that's made you realize you can't continue to present yourself in a particular way or reach out to the people that you are, or that there's a shock to the system that means you have to completely go back to source and rethink that. Because for the question, we have Apis, and it says, what if your breakdown is your breakthrough? So this makes me think that something either shifts within when you think, I can no longer do this. If you've, to give you an example, if you've had like a corporate life, for most of your life, and you've had the sort of, three-piece suit, and you've sort of gone in with the sort of like, everything's very stereotypically sort of professional and all that kind of thing, but within you're actually a bohemian artist, then you might just get to that point where you go, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I have to be true to who I am. I have to work somewhere that's going to accept it, or I need to go out and work for myself. I've got to reach the people who can accept who I am, and that kind of thing. So it's like opening the possibilities for true self-expression, but it's either come because of an internal thing where you can no longer keep up an artifice, or it's coming from something that's a shock to the system. Like, again, you've been the corporate person, suddenly there's a downsizing, you don't have a job, and it's like, who am I going to be now? How do I present myself? And finding that and understanding that there are endless possibilities, this challenge, this breakdown, this difficulty, this sense of not being able to continue in a particular way, whatever it is, the pressure of that is the challenge, but it's also the reward, because the challenge now is to redefine yourself and become who you really want to be. And importantly, show that to the world, not just keep it within. So let's use tarot. So tarot is going to firstly get a little bit more of an idea about what this challenge is. Then we're going to have a look at why you specifically. Why is the universe saying this is coming for you because you are ready for it? And then we're going to see how other people respond to you as you go through the challenge. So firstly, a little bit more about the challenge itself. Two of Wands reversed. Three of Pentacles reversed. Page of Cups reversed. Yeah, this is you realizing the connections you have and the feelings you have about things. They're not aligning with who you truly are. The Tower, wow, big shift. And it is probably like what feels like a breakthrough. The Devil, yeah, to free you. Okay. So I would say if you come to the right reading, this challenge is to deal with old systems, old ways of presenting yourself, old places that you worked, whatever it might be. It is a real breakthrough from what was actually keeping you bound up and keeping you from being able to express who you were. And it is definitely about you're not sort of around the right friends or the right workplace or something like that. Something is not right there. There's no capacity to really collaborate and reach out with others because there's no unanimity of thinking here. You're in the wrong place or around the wrong people or something. This opportunity, this sense, and I think for most of you it's coming up internally, like it's a kind of a real groundswell internally that you want to get back to who you truly are. The thing to do is work out what do you want to feel, because you don't feel right where you are. You don't feel right with the people you're connecting with. And as I said, it'll depend on, it could be in different parts of your life. For some, it could be in your workplace. For some, it could be around friendships that no longer feel like friends anymore, but feel like frenemies. It could be around a love relationship. It could be in a spiritual group. But there is something where either internally there is a huge wish for freedom that kind of bubbles up and you can't stop it, or something happens. Like, say you were in a spiritual group, maybe you are so different in the way you do things that you actually get rejected. And when you sort of get free of that, you realize actually now I can finally be who I am, but I've got to work out what that is. So for some of you, it could be something like that. So whatever it is, this is coming either externally or internally. The challenge is a shock to the system that is meant to shake you into expressing yourself the way that you would really want to express yourself and connecting to the right people, because for some reason it's not happening. So let's see if we can get a bit more about that by asking, why is this you right now specifically? The Chariot reversed, King of Pentacles, Eight of Swords, Five of Swords reversed. Yeah, okay. Five of Cups. Okay, so this is so that you get on the right path. You're not on the right path at the moment. In whatever this is, in whatever, as I say, you would probably need to think, yes, I can relate to this for this to be your reading. I think there's something, a relationship, a career, whatever it is. You're not on the right path, and you know you're not on the right path. But there's been a kind of a trap. There's something secure about where you've been. It may not have been, you might not have felt like you were really one of the gang, or whatever it is, or that just might be starting to happen now. But it felt secure. It felt like it was established. It felt like you could rely on it. But that in itself was a kind of a trap. It meant that you didn't walk away from something when you really knew it wasn't going to give you what you wanted. So this is happening for you to shock you into coming out of something that was comfortable, and you might have even got complacent in it, but which wasn't true to you. That's what this is about. That's why you right now, because you have a destiny to fulfill. You have a journey to go on, and you have to have something that happens. Either, as I say, it bubbles up within you and you can't take it anymore, or as I say, something happens, like there's downsizing and job losses occur, or you do get a group that you've been around for years who no longer connect with you or whatever. But it's like, it's for you. It's to free you. Even if, depending, their motives might not be great, but it doesn't really matter, because if that's the case, you're not really meant to be around them. You're meant to connect with other people. So let's see how people in general respond to you as you go through this. The Empress reversed. The Hierophant reversed. Okay. The Page of Swords. The Page of Wands. Okay. So there's a mixed bag. This has been all the way through, and that's what you sort of expect for this. There are some, like in workplaces or spiritual groups or something, or family connections, all that, who are not going to get what you're doing. They're not. But they may already have sort of pushed you away or put you into Coventry or whatever. But there's going to be an issue there. If there's anything in your family, probably through the maternal line more than the paternal, but there's some that just don't get it. They don't want to see the real you. They won't necessarily approve of it. But that's okay. Don't worry too much about that, because there will be people who really do get it. You're going to actually find you can communicate with and connect with those who have a similar vision, a similar energy. And I think I feel like there's something about this. Like if I was to sort of say like a spiritual group, it'd be like you were in a spiritual group that was very established, but you realize it's kind of hollow. It's not really working. You and others leave, and others who were seeking something, but were seeking like something authentic, you're leaving something that wasn't authentic, and you're starting to reach out for others who are looking for something authentic. You find people who are on a similar level to you, like they've been searching in a similar way. I think you find others. This is why we've got the arm. This is meant to connect you to people who, like you, are still searching for what the truth is and who you could be and how you could communicate and how you could express yourself. You have to get away from this almost traditional, established way of doing things, even if that's not necessarily hollow or wrong. But for you right now, for you to find yourself, you have to find people who are like still seeking like you, rather than being in the comfortable place of people who maybe think they've found everything, whether they're right or not. So it's interesting. So let's have a look at the emotional energy of doing this. So I'm just going to be looking at the beginning of it, when you're going through the challenge, and after you've achieved the challenge. Now, feelings are fleeting, and it's possible at the end, like the last one might look strained or whatever, because sometimes once we've gone through all of that, then it's like, what's the next step? Other times we can feel like, yes, we've got there. So just remember, these are just feelings, but it's just to give a little bit of a pattern of what you might go through emotionally as you go through this challenge. So at the beginning, okay, that makes a lot of sense. This looks like very wary, very closed off, and maybe feeling rejected. I feel like there's something here where, as I say, you can't stay in this situation anymore. You're not understood, or you're being rejected, or you're feeling isolated. That makes perfect sense for this. This is why it's saying breakdown becomes breakthrough. This is like you start this feeling, and I feel like you can only see one eye here too. I think you feel like you're around really one-eyed people. So that sort of energy as well. So that makes perfect sense with the energy that's reading. What about as you're going through it, when you're starting to kind of break away and express yourself as you should be and connect with the people that are right for you? Okay, you're feeling a lot more comfortable there. There's a serenity. Once you sort of accept that that's the case, there's a kind of a serenity to doing it, and a waiting. I feel like that expression is like faith to me, and I think that, the beauty of faith, knowing that like once you do this, once you are true to yourself, you can have faith. So then, once the challenge is done, once you've really kind of started to express yourself, I think, that makes sense to me. This energy makes sense to me. There's a kind of a looking back, and that was hard. It wasn't an easy thing to do. It's not a regret. There's a kind of a determination to move forward, but I think it's like a loss of innocence in a way. If we go through something and we lose innocence, we can't get innocence back. We become older, we become wiser. And I think this is what it is: older, wiser, understanding the costs of things, understanding that things don't always work out the way that you originally thought they were going to. This is why you've had to go through this process. I also feel like that card is very contemplative. I feel like it would show that you would not do to others, maybe to, what might have happened to you to trigger this all off. Like there is a real wisdom there. But it's the wisdom that comes from having had to go through this journey. But always remember that. Always remember that in the end, life is tough and we have challenges to grow and so forth. But we can always go back to the faith and know that we're heading in the right direction overall. But this feels like aging. This feels like going through a process. In fact, if you look at this, literally looks like aging. This looks like the youngest face, then a little bit older, and then it's sort of like at the end of it, you feel like you've come into who you are. But it hasn't necessarily been easy. So, but I think very, very worthwhile, particularly remembering this feeling in the middle of it. So let's have a look at the everyday sort of energy of it, and then kind of a spiritual energy of it. So the everyday energy that you might experience going through this challenge, pile 3. The tattoo. Oh yeah, it says all about how you express yourself. This card to me in this deck is that. It's about self-expression. This is what it's about. Self-expression is important. Not everybody's going to get it. Those that do get it will get it. But like, you've got to be prepared to have those who don't get it, who don't understand, to find the ones that do. It's just part of the journey. Also, we get, red flags. You will see some people. You will see, and I think it's triggered by red flags. I think you will know there's something about the people that you're around, the space you're in, a job you're doing, whatever it is, that is not true to you anymore, and all the red flags are there. So even though it's comfortable, you just have to do something. You reach a point where you have to do something. See that as the red flags that bring you to the liberation to show who you are. Okay, so let's see spiritually what's going on. Wow, this came up for one of the others too, drawn into the vortex. It's big. It's interesting. The other one I came up for had the Tower as well too. These are big challenges. There's a reason that I was meant to do this reading today, I think. Big challenges. But the vortex is also the place of endless possibility, which is what we're talking about here. Look at this as being a liberation, like that bird flying away. But it could feel like you're in a maelstrom at first. And we have, that's interesting. I think this came up. I'm not sure if those two came up together. This one has definitely come up as well too. I think some of you have gone to more than one, and that's fine. There's a certain similarity across this, around some of this, so I think that might be absolutely perfect, that for some of you it is a combination of a couple. But I think this is like keeping the ideal going, and knowing it's there in the middle of that is something that you need, but also being aware that some people will not get it. And this is why there's this wisdom afterwards. There's the faith to go through the vortex and have the rose-coloured glasses, and then there's the wisdom that comes at the end, having done it. But I think also the strength to continue on. Let's see. And I don't think it's going to be so awful, do you know what I mean? I just think that you're going to move on from some people that weren't the right people for you. So let's see some stars to guide the way for you. Mercury in the 10th house, Capricorn, great achievements. Yeah, you're meant to do well with all of this. I think this, for most of you, it's probably around work, career, something like that. I don't feel so much around relationships in terms of love. I mean, it could be, but this feels more like groups and so forth. And part of the challenge for you might be that you are used to doing very well. And we were seeing the King of Pentacles and so forth. There was something, like in terms of money and stability and security, you were doing really, really well, but it wasn't necessarily true to you. And so there's sort of like working out how to use the same communication skill that brought the great achievements to your door when you weren't showing who you are. You can actually utilize those when you do show who you are. And we have Libra rising, companionable. Yeah, you still will have people around you. This is not going to make you completely lonely. But it may also be that you had a tendency towards that. Libra rising, if you had Libra rising, they do want socially comfortable things. You might have put up with more than you needed to put up with. So this is sort of like starting to understand how to communicate to achieve things and to still have people around you that you would like to have around you. That might be part of the challenge that we're talking about here. And Uranus in the 8th house, Scorpio. Wow, past life memories of abandonment. So, okay, so on a spiritual level, maybe one of the reasons that you've gone for what felt sort of like stable and secure rather than what was true to you is that you have had past life and even earlier in this life experiences of being rejected. I feel like some of you with the youth of that card may have felt it at school. You might have been very different at school. Then you found how to kind of fit in, and now it's like, oh wow, if I have to kind of really show who I am, if I've got to go through all that again. But some of you may have actually experienced that as well too. But I would also think for me, Uranus in the 8th house is also really powerful psychic ability and change management kind of energy has a magical approach to it. So I think there's something very magical in this, with the Tower energy, the tattoo, like the amount of power. This is why we've got the endless possibilities. Uranus is kind of like the big evolutionary, what is next? There's something bigger around all of this if you choose to pursue that. But you could also do it at the very personal level, I think. It depends upon what you want to do with it. Okay, to finish off, I just want to bring you a crystal or mineral as a support, sort of some other perspectives on all of this. And you may want to get the crystal, if you collect crystals. Otherwise, just sort of think about the energy and how that also relates to this particular challenge for you. So for you, we get bismuth crystals. I haven't ever heard of them. I am forging Chiron. So there's a healing thing. And forging who you really are. Brain, third eye, and aura. Okay, third eye, I'm going to make a point about that. You are very psychic with Uranus in the 8th house. So some of this is also clearing your sort of psychic and auric field to find the right people and express yourself, because you may also have got trapped in situations and with the wrong people or the wrong job or whatever it is, because you are so psychic. You connect in so much with others. So be aware of that. Fast computing, processing information, structural living, community builder, oneness and infinite possibilities. Wow. New future creativity, connection to past, present and future. Okay, so for some of you, there definitely is, like, the past is very important here, maybe past lives, but it's like it's ending as it began. There is endless possibilities in this. It may feel a little bit hard because it is about finding new connection, but that's what you're meant to do. And you will find your community, you will find your people. I think you'll move, though, from being someone who is comfortable within a group but not true to yourself to being true to yourself and being a leader within a group. So that may be the sort of next challenge, which is maybe why we sort of see this, oh, now I'm taking on this responsibility. Hope that resonates for you, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.